The wind is buffering? Oh, that doesn't bode well. Guess I'll have both of them running in case one of them fails. Hopefully they don't fail at the same time. Oh, wait, no, fuck. Why did I open Streamlabs OBS? It's already open. It's so windy. It was the only ambient sound that I could find that had to do with winter. Also, yo, Sassy, what's up? And if you want to know exactly why it's so windy, I have two windies happening simultaneously. There's windy 1, and there's windy 2, in case the other windy fails. So, yeah, it's a little windy. So, I have disappointing news. I didn't get a chance to finish, or even really start, the Crow version of A Christmas Carol. It's on my list for next year, though. Like, you can hold me to that. It will happen eventually, just not now. I'm going through a hiring disaster right now. I accepted one person for the position, and then they declined it. And then I accepted another person for the thing, and it declined it. And now I'm waiting on, like, the 4th person down the list to get back to me, and I think I'm just gonna have to repost the job. Because, like, no one else who applied is really qualified. I'm like, I'm just gonna have to start from square one again. Not a whole lot. Had your dentist appointment today. Finally got the referral for your wisdoms extracted. Just have to wait on the list. Hey, that's not bad. I still have 2 of my wisdom teeth because the roots of my bottom wisdom teeth wrapped around the nerve that... Oh, yep, one of the winds failed. Wrapped around the nerve of my lower jaw. And it's inoperable. Like, they could fuck up my whole jaw if they tried to take it out, so... They haven't been giving me any issues, which is good, but even if they did, there'd be nothing they could do. Like, the roots are just, like, hugging that nerve, and I'm like, alright, well, Saves me 2 surgeries, but fuck. I really hope that doesn't become a problem later. That one is so comical. I just hear it failing. God, that's so funny. They said your mouth was so small they'd have to use they'd have to use pediatric utensils. Oh, same. I've gotten that problem before. They definitely had to go because they aren't in all the way and they're already wreaking havoc. Oh god, yeah, they gotta go. I think they got rid of my top ones. They weren't causing too much trouble, but they were like, yeah, let's just get rid of them anyway before they cause trouble. And I was like, alright. And they were like, whoa, wait, not those two. And we were like, oh, okay. I remember seeing the x-rays of them, and like, sure enough, little roots were like, huggle. And I'm like, alright. You can stay there, whatever. The wind is really funny. Alright. I'm also gonna be checking my inbox, because I sent everyone their rejection letters today, which I fucking hate doing. I hate rejecting people. I do it so well. They like their home, yeah. Look at me. I'm such a hospitable teeth owner. Tooth owner? Apparently want to rearrange the furniture. Yeah, that's an accurate description. Oh, that paints a picture. Oh, I love that. It's bad for you, and I'm sorry, but I love the way you described that. Yeah, no, they want to redecorate. Christ. Oh, that was good. I wish there was a way I could keep an eye on this. Well, I can. It'll just be annoying. Alright, so I have a couple things lined up for today. But yeah, I didn't get to a Christmas Carol yet. I will. Hopefully soon. That does not help anything. Yeah. But I do have a couple stories. Apparently Charles Dickens has a shorter story called Christmas Ghosts, which I will read. Smiles also gave a story, called This is a Story About a Camping Trip I Took with My Grandfather. I was taking the piss, but you absolutely went for it. I will try to do it, just maybe not immediately. That's just lyrics of a song. There is the story of Father got a whole bunch of Russians. Let's see here. Oh yeah, here's Father Frost. Which I'm pretty sure... Okay, yeah, so I wanted that one. Oh my god, they have so many werewolf stories in Russian. I was staring right at it. Where'd it go? Oh, it's in front of me. so we'll start with Father Frost just to get our feet wet. No, JK, I lied. Chaos isn't here. We're gonna read The Spider's Christmas. This is a Ukrainian folktale. Chaos is not here, correct? No, Chaos is not here. Alright, trigger warning for Chaos. Trigger warning. Skip to the whenever I finish this. Oh, are you also arachnophobic? Oh, fuck me. I forgot that about you. No, never mind. We'll skip this one. No, I'm not mean. I'm not mean. No, I'm not gonna do that. Shit, I forgot. I totally forgot that about you. Fuck. I thought I was a better friend than that. Shit. You'll be fine, probably. Make noise in chat if you're not. Alright. What? Both winds failed? And then they... Oh, that's amazing. Oh, this is awful. Oh my god. Okay, I gotta see what I can do about this. This is a little dumb. You give me a volume option, but there is no volume. Okay. I feel like this is potentially distracting. But it might soothe Sassy, so we're gonna do it. You aren't terrible. Don't throw pennies at me. They hurt. Oh my lord. Alright, here we go. Jesus, this is a whole freaking orchestra. Alright, here we go. 'Twas Christmas Eve, and the children were cleaning the house for Santa. "But he comes down the chimney," said the smallest girl. "He'll be covered in soot. He won't care if our house is dusty or not. He won't even notice." "Yes, he will," said their mother. "I want the house to be cleanest, tidiest, shiniest house in the whole village. So pick up those socks." The children tidied, dusted, polished, and mopped all day. "I don't want to see any dirt or dust, any cobwebs or fluff," said their mother cheerfully. "Christmas is hard work," the smallest boy muttered. "Cobwebs!" called out their mother. "I see cobwebs on the ceiling!" So the biggest girl climbed on the ladder, and the biggest boy held it steady. She flicked with a feather duster until all the cobwebs vanished. A family of spiders were hiding in the darkest corner of the ceiling. As the dust and cobwebs were swept out of the house, the littlest spider whispered, "Where will we live now? If those huge people flick our webs away, where will we live?" The mother spider said, "Don't worry. The big clean only lasts one day. And we can weave more webs once the winter festival is over. But watch what happened next. The little spiders watched as the children's father... Well, you just fucking nixed the music altogether? Oh my god. That's even worse, because now I'm just reading in the silence of my own craziness. Oh, no, that's a little too much. God, you're really... You're killing me, man. Oh, that doesn't slow down the music, does it? Shit. Oh my god, this is terrible. Okay, well, we'll just keep redoing this. Alright. Okay. But what happens next? The little spiders watched as the children's father arrived with a tall, green, sharp-needled tree. The smell of the outdoors followed the tree into the house. The children clapped and cheered and got in the way, while their father put the tree in a bucket and jammed stones around the trunk to keep it upright. Then the biggest boy held the ladder again, and the little spiders crept deeper into the corner. "It's fine," said their mother. "They're not coming up here again, look." The children were hanging glass globes, gingerbread men, and little metal drums from the branches of the great green tree. They put a bright star, gleaming like the rest of the house, on the very top of the tree. Then the whole family stood in a circle around the tree and sang lots of happy songs. Finally, they all went upstairs to bed. "Hurry up," said the children's mother. "We want to be asleep before Santa comes down the chimney." The spiders gazed at the tree. "It's magic," said the little spider. "It's like we have a forest in our house." "Go to sleep," said the mother spider. "You'll need lots of energy to weave more webs." But while she fell asleep, the little spider stayed awake, looking at the tree. "Let's go closer," said the biggest baby spider. They swung down on their little spider silk from the rafters to the top of the tree. Then the little spiders played on the tree. Motherfucker. Do 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 do. Come on. Fuck me. Where am I? The little spiders played on the tree. They waved at their reflections in the glass globes, played marching tunes on the little tiny drums with all their feet, and danced around the gingerbread man. They leapt from branch to branch, singing the songs they had heard the family sing, and played hide and seek behind the dark green needles. They climbed up to the shiny star, daring each other to perch on the highest point. Then they challenged each other to an abseiling race from the star to the bucket. As they dared and danced and raced and played, the little spiders left a maze of delicate spider silk all over their tree. Long lines of white, zigzagging around the tree, winding around the branches. Then suddenly they heard a thump and a creak. A big man in a red suit landed in front of the fireplace. The baby spiders hid deep in the shadows of the tree, right up against the trunk. Santa Claus walked up the tree and looked at the pale threads chasing around it. And he laughed. He looked around the clean, gleaming, shining house and said, "Let's make it all shine." He touched the nearest thread of spider silk, and it glowed silver. Santa nodded and ran his gloved finger up another strand, and all the spider silk round the tree gleamed like silver. The whole tree shone. And Santa bent down, peered between the branches, and winked at the little spiders. Once he had filled all the stockings on the mantelpiece, he clambered back up the chimney. The little spiders scampered back to the ceiling to snuggle up beside their mother. Next morning, when the family came downstairs, they found their presents. They also found their tree covered in the very finest tinsel. Ever since that day, children of Ukraine and Germany have decorated Christmas trees with strings of shining tinsel. But they also hide a little toy spider deep inside the branches. I didn't know that. I didn't know y'all put spiders in your tree. Hopefully that wasn't too bad, Sassy. That was cute, right? That was adorable. That was delightful. You're totally fine with that. Okay, good. Okay. Chaos. It's trigger warning over. You can come back at 21:48. Who else protects the tree if not the spiders? Yo, Thunder Kitty. I don't know, but apparently the spiders have a big role in this. We actually have these spider webs in our tree? Hell yeah, Zerp. Why didn't you well, there's obvious reasons why I didn't tell. But yes, this is a thing. This is actually a thing. And I had no idea about it. And I kind of like Christmas a little more because of it. Oh my god, that is adorable. That is so cute. Oh my god, that is so cute. That is way too cute. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. Let me ask Mom for pics tomorrow if I don't forget. Hell yeah. Oh my god, that's adorable. Okay, why can't I have good things? Why no music for Wolfie? Why is there no music for the Wolfie at this point in time and stuff? Doodle-doodle-doo. Alright, we're back to the wind. Hopefully it loaded. Alright, let me give myself a little bit more of a runway. Okay, here we go. So, okay, I'm glad I read that one. I had no idea y'all put spiders in your tree. That is so cute. Alright, the next one is also Russian, because apparently I can't get enough of this accent. This is called Father Frost. From Vera Xenofontovna Kalamantiano de Blumenthal's. What the fuck is their name? Folk tales from the Russian. In a faraway country, somewhere in Russia, there lived a stepmother who had a stepdaughter, and also a daughter of her own. Her daughter was dear to her, and always, whatever she did, the mother was the first to praise her, to pet her. But there was little praise for the stepdaughter. Although good and kind, she had no other reward than reproach. What on earth could be done? The wind blows, but stops blowing at times. The wicked woman never knows how to stop her wickedness. One bright, cold day, stepmother says to her husband, "Now, old man, I want you to take your daughter away from my eyes, away from my ears. You shall not take her to your people in the warm izbe. You should take her into the wide, wide fields to the crackling frost. The old father grew sad, even began to weep, but nevertheless helped the young girl into the sleigh. This is bad parenting, just divorce her ass. He wished to cover her with sheepskin in order to protect her from the cold. However, he did not do it. He was afraid. His wife was watching them from out the window. And so he went with his lovely daughter to the wide, wide fields, drove her nearly to the woods, and left her there alone, and speedily drove away. He was a good man, and did not care to see his daughter's death. Alone, quite alone, remained the sweet girl. Broken-hearted and terror-stricken, she repeated fervently all the prayers she knew. Father Frost, the almighty sovereign of that place, clad in furs, with long, long white beard and shining crown on his white head, approached nearer and nearer, looked at this beautiful guest of his, and asked, "Do you know me? Me? The red-nosed Frost?" "Be welcome, Father Frost," answered the young girl gently. "I hope our heavenly Lord sent you down for my sinful soul." "Are you comfortable, sweet child?" again asked the Frost. He was exceedingly pleased with her looks and mild manners. "Indeed I am," answered the girl, almost out of breath from the cold. And the Frost, cheerful and bright, kept crackling in the branches until the air became icy. But the good-natured girl kept repeating, "I am very comfortable, dear Father Frost." But the Frost, however, knew all about the weakness of human beings. He knew very well that few of them are really good and kind, but he knew no one of them could struggle too long against the power of Frost, the king of winter. The kindness of the gentle girl charmed old Frost so much that he made the decision to treat her differently from others, and gave her a large, heavy trunk filled with many beautiful, beautiful things. He gave her a rich choba, Yep, lined with precious furs. He gave her silk quilts, light like feather and warm as a mother's lap. What a rich girl she became, and how many magnificent garments she received. And besides all, old Father Frost gave her a blue sarafan ornamented with silver and pearls. When the young girl put it on, she became such a beautiful maiden that even the sun smiled at her. The stepmother was in her kitchen, busy baking pancakes for the meal, which is the custom to give to the priests and friends after the usual service for the dead. "Now, old man," said the wife to the husband, "go down to the wide fields and bring me the body of your daughter. Bury her." So the old man went off, and the little dog in the corner wagged his tail and said, "Bow wow! Bow wow!" The old man's daughter's on her way home, beautiful and happy as never before, and the old woman's daughter is wicked as ever before. Apparently all of this the dog said, which, okay. "Keep still, stupid beast," shouted stepmother, and struck the little dog. "Wow, what a bitch. Here, take this pancake, eat it, and say, the old woman's daughter will be married soon, and the old man's daughter shall be buried soon." The dog ate the pancake and began anew. "Bow wow! Bow wow! The old man's daughter is coming home wealthy and happy as never before." The dog is now a parrot. I don't know. "And the old woman's daughter is somewhere around this, as homely and wicked as ever before." The old woman was furious at the dog, but in spite of pancakes and whipping, the dog repeated the same words over and over. Somebody opened the gate. Voices were heard laughing and talking outside. The old woman looked out and sat down in amazement. The stepdaughter was there like a princess, bright and happy in the most beautiful garments, and behind her the old father had hardly strength enough to carry the heavy, heavy trunk with rich outfit. Old man, cried the stepmother impatiently, hitch your best horses to our best sleigh, and drive my daughter to the same place in the wide, wide fields. The old man obeyed as usual, took his stepdaughter to the same place, and left her alone. Old Frost was there, and he looked at his new guest. Are you comfortable, fair maiden? Asked the red-nosed sovereign. Ah, let me alone, harshly answered the girl. Can you not see without my feet, and my hands are quite stiff from the cold? The frost kept crackling and asking questions for quite a while, but obtaining no polite answer, he became angry and froze the girl to death. Old man, go for my daughter. Take the best horses, be careful. Do not upset the sleigh. Do not lose the trunk. And a little dog in the corner said, Bow wow! Bow wow! The old man's daughter will marry soon. The old woman's daughter shall be buried soon. Do not lie. Here's cake. Eat it and say old woman's daughter is clad in silver and gold. The gate opened. The old woman ran out and kissed the stiff, frozen lips of her daughter. She wept and wept, but there was no help. And she understood at last that through her own wickedness and envy, her child had perished. Don't insult the cold. Also, don't be a dick. How are you doing, chat? Alright. Well, Smiles isn't here. This one is something written by our very own. I feel like don't be a dick is more of an overarching lesson. That's how you're doing? That's fair. Alright, Smiles, this is your story. Yeah. Same. I can't sleep because headache. Oof. Hopefully I can help with that a little bit. Voice, don't fucking fail me now. Alright, this is Smiles' story. Smile the hate god. This story is about a camping trip I took with my grandfather. It sucks because sleep would probably help the headache, yeah. But it's so hard to get to sleep when you already have a headache. Nature sucks that way. I hate how the human body is designed to not let you sleep. This story is about how I took a camping trip with my grandfather. We ran into something unnerving during that trip, and it's changed me as a person since. There are things that aren't meant to be talked about. Things that, once they're said, they can never be unsaid. Things that unleash more than just a secret about somebody in their past. If I was a stronger person, maybe I could keep it in. But sometimes those things just eat you up inside. I just hope the anonymity of the internet is enough to keep us all safe. I grew up in a place called Shoshone, just east of the Wind River Reservation in Wyoming. It's a small town that's getting smaller year after year. Most people move out like my family did. I know I was happy to leave. I have no doubt that anyone would feel differently. My granddad and my grandma stayed behind those years ago, and just recently we went up for my grandma's funeral. It was hard seeing Granddad like that. Like his whole world had crumbled around him. Last I'd seen him before then, he still walked around like a proud ox. At that funeral, he couldn't even stand straight. After the burial, my family had all said their goodbyes and everyone was packing into their cars to leave. Granddad pulled me off to the side. He was certain we were out of earshot of everyone. He looked at me with tears in his eyes and spoke. Remember that camping trip I took you on when you were 9? I nodded my head. At the time, some of the details were a little fuzzy, but I still remember the important things he'd taken me out to teach me. I felt nervous, though, knowing what he'd say next. He shook his head at me. No, boy. I mean, do you remember what happened during the night? With those words, I felt a ball of ice knot itself into my stomach. Memories sprang up that I had fought hard to keep down for years, that I tried to forget. It was the last weekend of July when he took me out. Summer break was in full spring, and I'd been packing my bag and repacking it for the last few days. Dad had said he'd take me out for the next year. Sorry, Dad had said, this is not your writing, Smiles, this is my inability to read. Fuck me. Dad had said that he'd be taking me out next year. There's nothing wrong with that sentence. My brain just short-circuited on that. Dad had said he'd been taking me out. Dad had said he'd be taking me out next year. But this was something Granddad had done with him and wanted to do with me, since I was the only boy in my family. Granddad had been in the army some time ago and had taught my dad and his brothers some of the skills he'd learned on camping trips like this one. I was excited since I never got to spend time alone with Granddad and hoped he would tell me about his time as a soldier. Every Friday morning, he pulled up in his Ford truck and we loaded up my bags alongside his in bed. We waved goodbye to my parents and my sisters and took off. We only made one stop along the way so we could use the bathroom at a gas station, so we could pick up some drinks. When we got to the campgrounds, it looked like there was barely anyone there. Just a few RVs and tents off in the distance. Granddad drove the truck up and off and found a spot where... Granddad drove the truck... Granddad drove the truck and off and found a spot that was secluded from everywhere else. We spent the day setting up our tents in a fire pit. As evening set, Granddad showed me how to set up a hair snare. And we started up a fire and cooked some hot dogs. He asked me about how my summer break was going, what my friends and I were getting up to. Afterwards, I asked him if he had any stories to tell us about his time in the army. And he said he'd tell me about them the next night. But for now, it was time for bed. He put the fire out while I climbed into my tent and settled in for the night. I'd maybe been asleep for an hour when the howling started that night. It sounded like one lone coyote, somewhere off in the distance. It kept me awake for a bit, but eventually I fell back asleep. The next morning, we got up early and checked the snares we'd set, all of which were empty, and set out on a little hike to go fishing at the nearby lake. When we got there, it was still early, so only a couple of older men and a few young boys were there, but Granddad and I kept to ourselves. Granddad caught a couple smaller fish that we let go. Eventually, I caught my first fish, a decent-sized bass. We took it back with us as the sun climbed into noon. On the way back, we checked the snares again and found what was left of a hare. Somebody had torn it apart when we were out fishing. Granddad threw the body away and we were on our way. None of the other snares caught anything. So Granddad had me set a few more in other spots. When we finally did get back to our tents, we started a fire for lunch and he showed me how to fillet the fish we'd caught. It was the first time I'd done anything like that, but he said I did a good job keeping my hand steady. After cleaning and cooking the bass, Granddad showed me how to tie a couple of different types of knots and told me about each one and how it was used. While we were sitting there, we heard a few voices approaching. There was a couple men from reservations with rifles slung over their shoulders. They'd asked us if we'd heard or seen anything in the night, to which Granddad told them about the coyote and the dead rabbit. He also told them we had a shotgun just in case anything got too close. The two men looked at each other and told us to be careful, since there might have been something else out there. That evening, Granddad had the bass on the fire cooking. The sun was already set with just a little light left, though we couldn't see far past the fire. As we sat there eating, Granddad got quiet and told me to stop eating. A moment later, I heard it too. Someone walking toward us. At first, I thought it was the hunters we'd seen that day, but I could only hear one person moving. As we sat there watching and waiting, the person came into view and sat down at the other side of the fire from us. He was a lean old man with dirty clothes. He didn't say anything, didn't look at us, just sat there for a moment and at the fire. Granddad looked at me for a moment, then put his plate down and cleared his throat. "Can I help you?" The man didn't react at all, just kept staring at the fire. Granddad watched him for a second more and then stood up. "I think you ought to go," he said, gesturing for me to stand. I did and began to back up to the truck, same way Granddad was going. At that moment, the man turned his head toward us. "I just want to warm up a bit," he said. I felt chills run all over my spine when I heard his voice. There was something wrong with it. Like the way he said it, the words weren't meant to go together. The rhythm of it, the cadence, was more like a cat or a dog was taught to speak. Granddad went completely still. I looked at him and saw the terror in his eyes as he looked at the stranger. I looked back at the man who was just staring at us. That's when I saw how colorless his eyes were. A split second later, Granddad and I turned and sprinted to the truck and got in. I locked my door and Granddad started tearing through the bags in the back looking for a shotgun. I looked out the window to the fire and saw the man still sitting there, staring in our direction. As I watched, he stood up, but still stayed in the same spot, watching us. Granddad swung the shotgun into his lap and checked to make sure it was loaded. He looked out the window at the man before stepping out of the truck and aimed the barrel at him. "I won't warn you again. You ought to go before something bad happens." Granddad moved up to him real slow while I watched from my seat in the truck, unable to move even if I wanted to. The man's dead eyes followed my Granddad, but he didn't move an inch. When Granddad got within 6 feet of the fire, the man opened his mouth. All he did was scream, but it didn't sound like a man screaming. It was more of like when a bobcat screams at night, which sounds like a woman being murdered. Granddad didn't even wait a second before pulling the trigger. The man's head disappeared and his body slumped to the ground, just barely avoiding the fire. Granddad stood there a second longer, barrel trained on the unmoving body. Then he turned and ran back to the truck and opened my door. "Get out, boy. We need to pack and go." It took us about 5 minutes to throw everything but the tents into the truck bed. Granddad and I got back into the seats and sped off. I remember crying all the way back to Granddad's house, not understanding what had happened at all. Grandma was tired and confused when we got back, but whatever Granddad said to her made her stop asking questions altogether. I laid down in the guest room and didn't hear anything from either of them for the rest of the night. I couldn't fall asleep. All that night I just tossed and turned in bed. At one point I thought I heard a coyote howling somewhere in the distance. The next morning, Grandma made breakfast while Granddad and I sat at the dining table. He had his hands folded over his face and his eyes stared straight ahead. I tried to say something, but I couldn't find any words or the courage to really speak. After breakfast, the two of us unloaded back into the truck so he could take me home. Grandma waved as we drove off. When we arrived at my house, Granddad finally broke the silence. You can't talk about what happened last night. Not because of what we did, but because of what we did it to. He looked me dead in the eyes, and I knew from what I saw in his that he was dead serious. It's not just for your protection, but it's for everyone else's too. I nodded, and he helped me unpack my things into the house. When Dad asked what happened to my tent, Granddad said that there had been a hole in it, so he was going to get a new one for me. After that, my dad and my granddad had a word while I lay upstairs and finally fell asleep. I hadn't heard anything about that night until the funeral. Dad never brought it up, neither did Granddad or Grandma. I thought about it for a while, but eventually we moved and I became focused on school and making new friends. I stared back at Granddad, all those memories coming back, and choked on my words as I tried to talk. In the end, I just nodded. He sighed and pulled out a handkerchief from his suit pocket. I never told your grandma about that night. But a few weeks ago, she asked me about it. Said someone had come to the door when I wasn't home and said something about it. He wiped sweat from his forehead and looked me in the eyes. I hadn't noticed until then just how faded the color was in his eyes. When you leave here, never come back. Stay as far away as you can, no matter what. He died a month ago. I told my family I couldn't go to the funeral, that it was too busy at work. I could hear the disappointment in their voices on the phone, but I don't care. I'm too afraid to go back there. I lay awake at night now, remembering that trip. Sometimes when I do, I swear I can hear that scream from somewhere in the distance. That was really well written. Well done to Smiles. I have no notes. This was fantastic. Yeah, let me let him know real quick. No notes. No criticisms. That was well written. Chilling, too. Like, it felt really believable. That was written by Smiles. That wasn't like somewhere from Reddit. That was written by our very own. Oh, both the winds failed again. Hold on, chat. I'm loading up the next story into the chamber. I actually had a list this time. The first and probably last time I'm ever gonna have a list and be like... somewhat prepared. See, look, the gods are punishing me. They were like, how dare you be organized? This is against thy nature, you fuck. Probably. I'm paraphrasing the gods, which is probably not good in and of itself, but, you know. Ugh. Everything is falling. Everything is bad when you're covered in wires. Alright. Why is the wind not working? Wind? Well, one of you's gotta work. Oh, now you're an ad? Fuck off. There we go. Alright. I just kind of Control F Christmas and just threw together what I could find easily. So hopefully this is good. After this one, if I have gas left, I'll take requests. This one is from good old Charlie Dickens, called Christmas Ghosts, written in 1850. Oh boy, I have to be British. Wait, was Charles Dickens British? Was he British? I think he was British. Why do I think he was British? Charles Dickens, British? Charles Dickens was an English writer. Yeah, he British. He heckin' British. He British. He very much British. Oh my god, the mug on that guy though. Charles Dickens does not look like how I thought he would look. Anyway. Yes! Alright. Here we go. Google must be confused why two people search at the same time. Zerp, I love you. You're amazing. Zerp, I don't tell you this enough, but I appreciate you. Why is my wax melt not breaking? That's the whole point of you. You're supposed to break. Did you not get the memo? Ah, you piece of garbage. Come on. Out the thing. There we go. Nice and easy on you. I don't think I need to mix this with anything. Sorry, I'm making my room smell like pine trees. Alright, here we go. I have been looking on this evening at a merry company of children assembled round that pretty German toy, a Christmas tree. Are Christmas trees from Germany? Hold on. Origin of the Christmas tree. Germany is credited for the starting of the Christmas tree tradition as we now know it. In the 16th century, when devout Christians brought decorated trees into their homes. Some built Christmas pyramids of wood and decorated them with evergreens and candles if wood was scarce. Oh my god. So Germany not only has cute spiders, but they also have every Christmas tree. We also have terrifying stories for children. Yes, I have a book of those. The Grimm stories, right? Hold on. Wait a second. Oh right, the feds took down that website. Motherfucker. German stories for children. It's gonna give me stories. Oh, they're all gonna be World War II. God damn it. Grimm's Fairy Tales, right? Yeah. Why does Milk Red Forgotten Fairy Tales? No, that's what I want to write. German Fairy Tales. We need more of that shit. folklore. I don't know what the Weimar days are, but I... Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Fairy tales from German forests. 2 new classics. Grimm language. Da-da-da-da-da. The Gospel of Witches? What the fuck? Okay. Shrek as an ethical fairy tale. Okay. Now I'm just going through poor people's dissertations. Germany. Nope, that's even worse. Crap. Hold on. German fairy tales. If you come up like nothing. Oh, you're... Okay, I see why it's doing what it is. Yeah, in fiction. Yeah, okay. Shit. You would think there have more books about this, but... I do have Grimm's fairy tales. Hold on. If I don't, I'm about to raise the heck. A, B, C, D, E, F, Grimm. Yep, here we go. Please don't tell me it's all... Oh... Selected? Bitch, I want the full thing. God, I got hella distracted. I'm so sorry. Wait, here we go. The complete. Oh yeah. No. Don't give me that halfway shit. If you're gonna give it to me, I want all of it. I'm terrible. Don't be like me. A, B, C, D, E, F, Grimm. Okay. We will never be in need of not enough Grimm ever again. Because I have all the Grimm that ever grimmed. And I can read it at any time. Probably. Don't give me a Moby, give me a PDF, you little bitch. There we go. That wasn't so hard. I'm just gonna put a G in front of it so I can find it. There we go. Celtic fairy tales. I'm just gonna check to make sure I have that because I'm pretty sure I do. I don't. Hold on, I gotta check that. Ryan Jacobson, Jacobson. Oh, okay, now I do. I thought I did. Okay. Alright, let me stop being distracted. We have plenty of German now. We have lots of German. Except for this. This might also be German. Preview not available. Shit. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I'll do some research on it. Fairy tales from German. Da, da, da. Hold on. I'll put that there for research later. God, I'm so sorry, chat. I got way distracted. Okay. Oh my god. I am such a pack rat when it comes to this sort of shit. And it's all digital, so it doesn't take up space. Which makes it worse, because now I have no self-control. Okay. Back to Dickens. Where we got 2 sentences in before we went on a terrible tangent about Christmas trees. Anyway, this is called Christmas Jokes. Christmas Ghosts by Charles Dickens. I've been looking on this evening at a Merry Christmas company of children assembled round that pretty German toy, a Christmas tree. The tree was planted in the middle of the great round table, and towered high above their heads. 'Twas brilliantly lighted by a multitude of little tapers, and everywhere sparkled and glittered with bright objects. There were rosy-cheeked dolls hiding behind the green leaves, and there were real watches, with movable hands at least, and an endless capacity of being wound up, dangling from innumerable twigs. And there were French polished tables, chairs, bedsteads, wardrobes, 8-day clocks, and various other articles of domestic furniture, wonderfully made in tin at Wolverhampton, perched among the boughs, as if in preparation for some fairy housekeeping. They were jolly, broad-faced little men, much more agreeable in appearance than many real men. And no wonder, for their heads took off and showed them to be full of sugar plums. There were fiddles and drums. There were tambourines, books, work boxes, paint boxes, sweetmeat boxes, peep show boxes, all kinds of boxes. There were trinkets for the elder girls, far brighter than any grown-up gold and jewels. There were baskets and pincushions and all devices. There were guns, swords, and banners. There were witches standing in enchanted rings of pasteboard to tell fortunes. There were teetotums, humming tops, needle cases, pen wipers, smelling bottles, conversation cards, bouquet holders, real fruit made artificially dazzling with gold leaf, imitation apples, pears, and walnuts crammed in with surprises. In short, as a pretty child before me delightedly whispered to another child, her bosom friend. There was everything and more. This motley collection of odd objects clustering on the tree like magic fruit and flashing back to the bright looks directed toward it from every side. Some of the diamond eyes admiring it were hardly on a level with the table, and a few were languishing in timid wonder on the bosoms of pretty mothers, aunts, and nurses, made a lively realization of the fancies of childhood, and set me thinking how all the trees that grow and all the things that come into existence on the earth have their wild adornments at that well-remembered time. Being now at home again, and alone, the only person in the house awake, my thoughts are drawn back by a fascination which I do not care to resist, to my own childhood. I began to consider, what do we all remember best on the branches of the Christmas tree of our own young Christmas days, by which we climbed to real life. Straight in the middle of the room, cramped in the freedom of its growth by no encircling walls or soon-reached ceiling, a shadowy tree rises, and, looking up into the dreamy brightness of its top, for I observe in this tree the singular property as it appears to grow downwards toward the earth, I look into my youngest Christmas recollections. All toys are first, I find. Up yonder, among the green holly and red berries, is the tumbler with his hands in his pockets, who wouldn't lie down, but whenever he was put upon the floor, persisted in rolling his fat body about until he rolled himself still and brought those lobster eyes of his to bear upon me, when I affected to laugh very much, but in my heart of hearts was extremely doubtful of him. Close behind him is that infernal snuff-box, out which there sprang a demoniacal counsellor in a black gown with an obnoxious head of hair and red cloth mouth, wide open, who is not to be endured on any terms, but could not be put away either, for if he used suddenly in a highly magnified state to fly out of mammoth snuff-boxes and dreams, when least expected. Nor was the frog with the cobbler's wax on his tail far off. There was no knowing when he wouldn't jump, and when he flew over the candle and came upon one's hand with that spotted back, red on a green ground, he was horrible. The cardboard lady in the blue silk skirt who stood up against the candlestick to dance, and whom I see on the same branch, was milder and just beautiful. But I can't say as much for the larger cardboard men. He used to be hung against the wall and pulled by a string. There was a sinister expression in that nose of his, and when he got his legs round his neck, which he very often did, he was ghastly, and not a creature to be alone with. When did that dreadful mask first look at me? Who put it on? And why was I so frightened at the sight of it? Is an errand in my life. It is not a hideous visage of itself. It is even meant to be a droll. Why then were its stolid features so intolerable? Certainly not because it hid the wearer's face. An apron would have done as much, and though I should have been preferred even the apron away, it would not have been absolutely insupportable like that mask. Was it the immovability of the mask? The doll's face was immovable, but I was not afraid of her. Perhaps that fixed and set change coming over a real face infused into my quickened heart some remote suggestion of dread of the universal change that is to come upon every face and make it still. Nothing reconciled me to it. Why the fuck does Charles Dickens write like Edgar Allan Poe in this one? Hello? No drummers, from whom proceeded melancholy chirping on the turning of a handle. No regiment of soldiers with a mute band, taken out of a box and fitted one by one upon a stiff and lazy little set of lazy tongs. No old woman, made of wires and a brown paper composition, cutting up a pie for two small children, could give me a permanent comfort for a long time. Nor was any satisfaction to be shown the mask, and to see it was made of paper, or to have it locked up and be assured that no one wore it. The mere recollection of that fixed face, the mere knowledge of its existence anywhere, was sufficient to awaken me in the night, all perspiration and horror, with, "Oh, I know it's coming! Oh, the mask!" I never wondered what the dear old donkey with the panniers, there he is, was made of back then. His hide was real to the touch, I recollect, and the great black horse with the round red spots all over him. A horse that I could even get upon. I never wondered what had brought him to that strange condition, or thought that such a horse was not commonly seen at the Newmarket. The 4 horses of no colour next to him, that went into the wagon of cheeses and could be taken out and stabled under the piano, appeared to have bits of fur tippet for their tails and other bits for their manes, and to stand on pegs instead of legs. But it was not so when they were brought home for Christmas as a present. They were all right then. Neither was the harness unceremoniously nailed into the chests, as appears to be the case now. The tinkling works of the music cart I did find out to be made of quill toothpicks and wire. And I always thought that little tumbler in his shirt sleeves, perpetually swarming up to one side of a wooden frame, and coming down head foremost on the other. Rather a weak-minded person, though good-natured. But the Jacob's ladder next to him made of little squares of red wood, that went flapping and clattering over one another, each developing a different picture, and the whole enlivened by small bells, was a mighty marvel and a great delight. Ah, the doll's house, of which I was not a proprietor, but where I visited. I don't admire the Houses of Parliament half so much as that stone-fronted mansion, with real glass windows and doorsteps and a real balcony, greener than I ever see now, except at watering places. And even they afford but a poor imitation. And although it did open all at once, the entire house front, which was a blow I admit, as cancelling the fiction of a staircase, it was but to shut it up again. And I could believe. Even open, there were 3 distinct rooms in it, a sitting room and a bedroom, elegantly furnished, and best of all a kitchen, with uncommonly soft fire irons, a plentiful assortment of diminutive utensils. Oh, the warming pan, and a tin man cook in profile, who was always going to the fry to fish. What the Barmecide justice have I done to the noble feasts wherein a set of wooden platters figured, each with its own peculiar delicacy, as a ham or turkey glued tight onto it, and garnished with something green, which I recall as moss. Could all the temperance societies of the later days, united, give me such a tea drinking as I have had through the means of yonder little set of blue crockery, which really would hold liquid. It ran out of a small wooden cask, I recollect, and tasted of matches, and which made tea nectar. And if the 2 legs of the ineffectual little sugar tongs did tumble over one another, and want purpose, like Punch's hands, what does the matter? And if I did once shriek out as a poison child, and strike the fashionable company with consternation, by no reason of having drunk a little teaspoon, inadvertently dissolved into too hot tea, I was never worse for it, except by a powder. Upon the next branches of the tree lower down, hard by the green roller and the miniature garden tools, how thick the books began to hang. Thin books themselves, at first, but many of them, and with deliciously smooth covers of bright green and red. What fat black letters to begin with. A was an archer and shot at a frog. Of course he was. He was an apple pie also, and they is. He was a good many things in his time, was A. And so were many of his friends, except X, who had so little versatility that I never knew him to get beyond Xerxes or Xantippe. Like Y, who was always confined to yacht or yew tree, and Z condemned forever to be a zebra or a zany. But now the very tree itself changes and becomes a beanstalk, the marvelous beanstalk up which Jack climbed to the giant's house. And now those dreadfully interesting double-headed giants with their clubs over their shoulders began to stride along the boughs in perfect throng, dragging knights and ladies home for dinner by their heads. And Jack how noble with his sword of sharpness, and his shoes of swiftness. Again those old meditations come upon me as I gaze up at him, and I debate within myself whether there was more than one Jack, of which I am loth to believe possible, or only one genuine, original, admirable Jack, who achieved all the recorded exploits. Good for Christmas time is the ruddy colour of the cloak, in which, the tree making a forest of itself for her trip through with a basket, Little Red Riding Hood comes to me one Christmas Eve, to give me information of the cruelty and treachery of that dissembling wolf who ate her grandmother, without making any impression on his appetite, and then ate her, after making that ferocious joke about his teeth. She was my first love. I felt that if I could have married Little Red Riding Hood, I should have known perfect bliss. But it was not to be, and there was nothing for it but to look out, the wolf in Noah's Ark there, and put him late in the procession on the table, as a monster who is to be degraded. Yeah, fuck you. Oh, the wonderful Noah's Ark. It was not found seaworthy when put in a washing tub and the animals were crammed in at the roof, and needed to have their legs well shaken down before they could be got in, even there. And then 10 to 1. For they began to tumble out at the door, and that was but imperfectly fastened with a wire latch. But what was that against it? Consider the noble fly, a size or two smaller than the elephant. The ladybird, the butterfly, all triumphs of art. Consider the goose, whose feet were so small and whose balance was so indifferent, that he could usually tumble forward and knock down all the animal creation. Consider the goose, whose feet were so small and whose balance was so indifferent, that he usually tumbled forward and knocked down all the animal creation. Consider Noah and his family like idiotic tobacco stoppers, until the leopard snuck into the warm little fingers, till the tails of the large animals used to gradually resolve themselves into frayed bits of string. Okay, this is all about toys, right? I think so. Hush! Again a forest, and somebody up in a tree, not Robin Hood, not Valentine, not the Yellow Dwarf. I've passed him and all of Mother Bunch's wonders without mention. But an eastern king with a glittering scimitar and turban. By Allah. 2 eastern kings, for I see another, looking over his shoulder. Down upon the grass at the tree's foot lies the full length of the coal-black giant, stretched asleep, with his head in a lady's lap. And near them is a glass box, fastened with 4 locks of shining steel, in which he keeps the lady prisoner when he is awake. I see the 4 keys at his girdle now. The lady makes signs to the 2 kings in the tree, who softly descend. It is the setting in of the bright Arabian nights. Oh, now all common things become uncommon and enchanted to me. All lamps are wonderful, all rings are talismans. Common flower pots are full of treasure, with a little earth scattered on the top. Trees are for Ali Baba to hide in. Beefsteaks are to throw down into the valley of diamonds, that the precious stones may stick to them, and be carried by the eagles to make nests, whence the traders with loud cries will scare them. Tarts are made according to the recipe of the vizier's son of Busra, who turned pastry cook after he was set down in his drawers at the gate of Damascus. Cobblers are all Mustafas, and in the habit of sewing up people cut into 4 pieces, whom they are taken blindfold. Any iron ring let into stone is the entrance to a cave, which only waits for the magician, and the little fire and the necromancy that will make the earth shake. All the dates imported come from the same tree as that unlucky date, with whose shell the merchant knocked out the eye of a genie's invisible son. All olives are the stalk of that fresh fruit concerning which the commander of the faithful overheard the boy conduct a fictitious trial of the fraudulent olive merchant. All apples are akin to the apple purchased with 2 others from the Sultan's gardener for 3 sequins, and which the tall black slaves stole from the child. All dogs are associated with the dog, really a transformed man, who jumped upon the baker's counter and put his paw on the piece of bad money. All rice recalls the rice in which the awful lady, who was a ghoul, could only peck by grains because of her nightly feasts in the burial place. My very rocking horse, there he is with his nostrils turned completely inside out, indicative of blood. Yep, I read that correctly. Should have a peg in his neck by virtue thereof, to fly away with me, as the wooden horse did with the Prince of Persia, in the sight of all his father's court. Yes, in every object that I recognize among those upper branches of my Christmas tree, I see this very light. When I wake in bed at daybreak on the cold, dark winter mornings, the white snow dimly beheld outside, through the frost on the window pane, I hear Dinarzade. Sister, if you are yet awake, I pray you finish your history of the young king of the Black Islands. Scheherazade replies, if my lord the Sultan will suffer me to live another day, sister, I'll not only finish that, but tell you a more wonderful story yet. Then the gracious Sultan goes out, giving no orders for the execution, and we all 3 breathe again. At this height of my tree I begin to see, cowering among the leaves. It may be born of turkey, or of pudding, or of mince pie, or of these many fancies, jumbled with Robinson Crusoe on his desert island. Philip quarrel among the monkeys, Sanford and Merton, with Mr. Barlow, Mother Bunch, and the mask. Or it may be the result of indigestion, assisted by imagination and overdoctoring. A prodigious nightmare. It is so exceedingly indistinct that I don't know why it's frightful. But I know that it is. I can only make out that it is an immense array of shapeless things, which appear to be planted on vast exaggeration of the lazy tongues that used to bear the toy soldiers and be slowly coming close to my eyes, and receding to an immeasurable distance. When it comes closest, it is worse. In connection with it, I describe remembrances of winter nights, incredibly long, of being sent early to bed, as a punishment for some small offense, and waking in 2 hours with the sensation of having been asleep 2 nights, of laden hopelessness, of morning ever dawning, and the oppression of a weight of remorse. And now I see the wonderful row of little lights rise smoothly out of the ground before a vast green curtain. Now a bell rings, a magic bell, which still sounds in my ears unlike all other bells. The music plays amidst a buzz of voices and a fragrant smell of orange peel and oil. Anon the magic bell commands music to cease, and the great green curtain rolls itself up majestically, and the play begins. The devoted dog of Montargus avenges the death of his master, foully murdered in the forest of Bondi, and a humorous peasant with a red nose and a very little hat, whom I take from this hour forth in my bosom as a friend. I think he was a waiter or hostler at the village inn, but many years have passed since he and I have met. Remarks at the sagacity of the dog, and is indeed surprising, and even more jocular conceit, will live in my remembrance, fresh and unfading, overtopping all possible jokes until the end of time. Well, now I learn with bitter tears how poor Jane Shore, dressed all in white, and how her brown hair hanging down, went starving through the streets, or how George Barnwell killed the worthiest uncle, that man had had, and was afterwards so sorry for it that he ought to have been let off. Come swift to comfort me at the pantomime, stupendous phenomenon, when clowns are shot from loaded mortars into the great chandelier, bright constellation that it is, when harlequins, covered all with scales of pure gold, twist and sparkle like an amazing fish, when Pantaloon, whom I deem it no irreverence to compare in my own mind to my grandfather, puts red-hot pokers in his pocket and cries, "Here's somebody coming," taxes the clown with petty larceny by saying, "Now I sawed you do it," when everything is capable in the greatest ease of being changed into anything, and nothing is but thinking it makes it so. Now, too, I perceive my first experience of the dreary sensation, often to return in afterlife, of being unable next day to get back to the dull, settled world, of wanting to live ever in that bright atmosphere I've quitted, of doting on the little fairy with a wand like a celestial barber's pole, and pining for fairy immortality along with her. She comes back in many shapes as my eye wanders down the branches of my Christmas tree, and goes as often, and has never yet stayed by me. Out of this delight springs the toy theatre. There it is, with its familiar proscenium, and ladies in feathers in the boxes, and all its attendant occupation, and with paste and glue and gum and watercolors, and the getting up of the miller and his men, Elizabeth or the exile of Siberia. In spite of a few besetting accidents and failures, particularly an unreasonable disposition of the respectable Kelmar, and some others, to become faint in the legs and double up at exciting points of the drama. A teeming world of fancies, so suggestive and all-embracing that far below it on my Christmas tree I see dark, dirty, real theatres in the daytime, adorned with these associations as with the freshest garlands of the rarest flowers, and charming me yet. But hark, the waits are playing, and they break my child to sleep. What images do I associate with the Christmas music as I see them set forth on the Christmas tree, known before all others, keeping far apart from all the others? They gather round my little bed, an angel speaking to a group of shepherds in a field, some travellers with eyes uplifted, following a star, a baby in a manger, a child in a spacious temple, talking with grave men, a solemn figure with a mild and beautiful face, raising a dead girl by the hand, again near the city gate, calling back the son of a widow on his bier to life. A crowd of people looking through as the opened roof of a chamber where he sits, and letting down a sick person on a bed, with ropes the same in a tempest, walking on water to a ship, again on the seashore, teaching a great multitude, again with the child upon his knee and other children around, again restoring sight to the blind, speech to the dumb, hearing to the deaf, health to the sick, strength to the lame, knowledge to the ignorant, again dying on a cross, watched by armed soldiers, a thick darkness coming on, the earth beginning to shake, and only one voice heard, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." And still on the lower and mature branches of the tree, Christmas associations cluster thick, schoolbooks shut up, Ovid and Virgil silenced, the rule of three, with its impertinent inquiries long disposed of, Terence and Plautus acted no more. In an arena of huddled desks and forms, all chipped and notched and inked, cricket bats stumped in balls, left higher up with the smell of trodden grass and softened noise of shouts in the evening air. The trees, still fresh, still gay. If I no more come home at Christmas time, there will be boys and girls, thank heaven, while the world lasts, and they do. Yonder they dance and play upon the branches of my tree, God bless them. merrily in my hot dances and plays too. And I do come home at Christmas. We all do, or we all should. We all come home, or ought to come home, for a short holiday. The longer the better. From the great boarding school, we are forever working at our arithmetical slates, and give a rest. As to going on visiting, where we cannot go if we will, where we have not been if we would, starting our fancy from our Christmas tree, away into the winter prospect. There are many such upon the tree, on the low-lying misty grounds, through fens and fogs, up long hills, winding dark as caverns beneath thick plantations, almost shutting out the sparkling stars, so on broad heights, until we stop at last with sudden silence. At an avenue, the gate bell has a deep, half-awful sound in the frosty air. The gate swings open on its hinges as we drive up to a great house. The glancing lights grow larger on the windows, and the opposing rows of trees seem to fall solemnly back on either side to give us space. At intervals all day a frightened hare has shot across this whitened turf, or the distant clatter of a herd of deer trampling in the hard frost has for the minute crushed the silence too. The watchful eyes beneath the fern may be shining now if we could see them, like the icy dew drops on the leaves, but they are still and all is still. And so the lights growing brighter, and the trees falling back before us and closing again behind us, as if to forbid retreat, we come to the house. There's probably a smell of roasted chestnuts and other good comfortable things all the time, for we are telling winter stories, ghost stories, more shame to us, around the Christmas fire, and we have never stirred except to draw a little nearer to it. But no matter for that. We came to the house, and it is an old house with great chimneys, where the wood is burnt on ancient dogs upon the hearth, and grim portraits, some of them with grim legends too, lower distrustfully from the oaken panels of the walls. We are a middle-aged noblemen. We make generous supper with our hosts and hostesses and their guests, it being Christmas time in the old house full of company, and then we go to bed. The room is a very old room. It's hung with tapestry. We don't like the portrait of a cavalier in green over the fireplace. There are great black beams in the ceiling, and there are great black bedsteads supported at the foot by two great black figures, who seem to have come off a couple of tombs in the old baronial church in the park, for our particular accommodation. But we are not a superstitious nobleman, and we don't mind. Well, we dismiss our servant, lock the door, and sit before the fire in our dressing gown, musing about a great many things, and at length we go to bed. Well, we can't sleep. We toss and tumble and can't sleep. The embers on the hearth burn fitfully and make the room look ghostly. We can't help peeping out over the counterpane at the two black figures in the cavalier, that wicked-looking cavalier in green. The flickering light, they seem to advance and retire, which, though we are not by any means a superstitious nobleman, is not agreeable. Well, we get nervous, more and more nervous. We say this is very foolish, but we can't stand this. We'll pretend to be ill and knock up somebody. Well, we are just going to do it when the locked door opens, and there comes a young woman, deadly pale, and with long fair hair, who glides into the fire, and sits down in the chair we have left there, wringing her hands. Then we notice her clothes are wet. Her tongue cleaves to the roof of her mouth, and we cannot speak. We observe her accurately. Her clothes are wet, with her long hair dabbled with moist mud. She's dressed in the fashion of 200 years ago. She has at her girdle a bunch of rusty keys. Well, there she sits. And we can't even faint, we're in such a state about it. Presently she gets up and tries all the locks in the room with the rusty keys, which won't fit one of them. And then she fixes her eyes on the portrait of the cavalier in green and says in a low, terrible voice, The stags know it. After that, she wrings her hands again, passes the bedside, and goes out the door. We hurry on our dressing gown, seize our pistols. We always travel with pistols. And are following. When we find the door locked, we turn the key, look out into the dark gallery, no one there. We wander away and try to find our servant. Can't be done. We pace the gallery till daybreak, then return to our deserted room. Fall asleep and are awakened by our servant. Nothing ever haunts him. In the shining sun, well, we make a wretched breakfast, and all the company say we look queer. After breakfast, we go over to the house with our host, and then we take him to the portrait of the Cavalier in green, and it all comes about. He was false to a young housekeeper once attached to that family, and famous for her beauty, who drowned herself in a pond, and whose body was discovered after a long time because the stags refused to drink of the water. Since which it's been whispered that she traverses the house at midnight, but goes especially to that room where the Cavalier in the green was wont to sleep, trying the locks with the rusty keys. Well, we tell our host what we have seen, and a shade comes over his features, and he begs it may be hushed up, and so it is, but it's all true, and we said so before we died. We are dead now. To many responsible people. There's no end to the old houses, with resounding galleries and dismal state bedchambers, and haunted wings shut up for many years, through which we may ramble with an agreeable creeping up our back and encounter any number of ghosts. It is worthy of remark, perhaps, reducible to a very few general types and classes, for ghosts have very little originality, and walk a beaten track. Thus it comes to pass that a certain room in a certain old hall, where a certain bad lord, baronet, knight, or gentleman shot himself, or certain planks in the floor which the blood will not be taken out. You may scrape and scrape, as the present owner has done, or plane and plane, as his father did, or scrub and scrub, as his grandfather did, or burn and burn with strong acids, as his great-grandfather did, but although there the blood will still be, no redder and no paler, no more and no less, always just the same. Thus, in such another house, there is a haunted door that will never keep open, and another door that will never keep shut, or a haunted sound of a spinning wheel, or a hammer, or a footstep, or a cry, or a sigh, or a horse's trap, or a rattling of a chain. Or else there is a turret clock which, at the midnight hour, strikes 13 when the head of the family is going to die, or a shadowy, immovable black carriage, which at summer time is always seen by somebody waiting near the great gates in the stable yard. Or thus it came to pass how Lady Mary went to pay a visit at a large wild house in the Scottish Highlands, and being fatigued with her long journey, retired to bed early, and innocently said next morning at the breakfast table, "How odd to have such a late party last night, even in this remote place, and not to tell me of it before I went to bed." Then everyone asked Lady Mary what she meant, and Lady Mary replied, "Well, all night long, the carriages was moving around and round the terrace underneath my window." Then the owner of the house turned pale, and so did his lady, and Charles MacDoodle of MacDoodle signed to Lady Mary to say no more, and everyone was silent, and after breakfast Charles MacDoodle told Lady Mary that it was a tradition in the family that those rumbling carriages on the terrace betokened death, and it proved, for 2 months afterwards the lady of the mansion died. And Lady Mary, who was the maid of honour at court, often told the story to old Queen Charlotte, by this token that the old king always said, "What? What? Ghosts, no such thing, and never left off saying so until he went to bed." Or a friend of somebody's, who most of us know, when he was a young man at college, had a particular friend with whom he made the compact that if it were possible for the spirit to return to this earth after separation from the body, he of the twain who first died should reappear to the other. In course of time, this compact was forgotten by our friend, the two young men having progressed in life and taken divergent paths that were wide asunder. But one night, many years afterwards, our friend being in the north of England, and staying for the night in an inn on the Yorkshire moors,
happened to look out of bed, and there in the moonlight, leaning on a bureau near the window, steadfastly regarding him, saw his old college friend. The appearance, being solemnly dressed, replied in a kind of whisper, but very audibly, "Do not come near me, I am dead. I am here to redeem my promise. I came from another world, but may not disclose its secrets." Then the whole form becoming paler, melted as it were into the moonlight and faded away. Or there was the daughter of the first occupier of the picturesque Elizabethan house, so famous in our neighbourhood. You've heard about her? No? Why, she went out one summer evening at twilight, and she was a beautiful girl, just 7 years of age, to gather flowers in the garden, and presently came running terrified into the hall of her father, saying, "Oh, dear father, you've met myself. Apparently we're Irish now." Shit, I hate when that happens. He took her in his arms and told her it was fancy, but she said, "Oh no, I met myself in the broad walk, and I was pale and gathering with her flowers, and I turned my head and held them up." And that night she died, and a picture of her story was begun, though never finished. They say it's somewhere in the house to this day, with its face to the wall. Well, the uncle of my brother's wife was riding home on horseback one mellow evening at sunset, when in a great lane close to his own house he saw a man standing before him in the very centre of a narrow way. Why does that man in the cloak stand there, he thought. Do they want me to ride over to him? Why, I guess we're Irish now. But the figure never moved. He felt a strange sensation at seeing it so still, but slackened his trot and rode forward. When he was so close to it as almost to touch it with his stirrup, his horse shied, and the figure glided up the bank in a curious unearthly manner. Backward, and without seeming to use its fate, it was gone. The uncle of my brother's wife exclaiming, "Good heaven, it's my cousin Harry from Bombay," put his spurs to his horse, which was suddenly in a profuse sweat, and wondering at such strange behaviour, dashed round to the front of his house. There he saw the same figure just passing in the long French window of the drawing room opening the ground. He threw his bridle to a servant and hastened after it. His sister was sitting there, alone. "Alice, where's my cousin Harry?" "Your cousin Harry, Tron?" "Yes, from Bombay. I met him in the lane just now and saw him enter there this instant." Not a creature had been seen by anyone in an hour or a minute, and as it afterwards appeared, the cousin died in India. How fucking long is this? Oh, we're almost done. Or it was a certain sensible old maiden lady who died at 89 and retained her faculties to the last. I really did see the orphan boy, a story that has been incorrectly told, but of which the real truth is in it. Because it is, in fact, a story belonging to our family. And she was a connection of our family when she was about 40 years of age, and still an uncommonly fine woman. Her lover died young, which was the reason why she never married, though she had many offers. She went to stay at a place in Kent, where her brother, an Indian merchant, had newly bought. There's a story about the place had once been held in trust by the guardian of a young boy, who was himself next heir, and who killed the young boy by harsh and cruel treatment. She knew nothing of that. It's been said that there was a cage in her bedroom in which the guardian used to put the boy. There was no such thing. It was only a closet. She went to bed and made no alarm whatsoever in the night, and in the morning said composedly to a maid when she came in, "Who's the pretty forlorn child who's been peeping out of that closet all night?" The maid replied by giving a loud scream and instantly decamping. She was surprised, but she was a woman of remarkable strength of mind, and she dressed herself and went downstairs and closeted herself with her brother. "Now, Walter," she said, "you've been disturbed all night by a pretty forlorn-looking boy. He's been constantly peeping out of that closet in my room, which I can't open. Is it some trick?" "I'm afraid not, Charlotte," said he, "for it is the legend of the house. It is the orphan boy. What did he do?" He opened the door softly, said she, and peeped out. Sometimes he came to a step or two into the room. Then I called to him and encouraged him, and he shrunk and shuddered and crept in again and shut the door. The closet has no communication, Charlotte, said her brother, with any other part of the house, and it's nailed up. This was undeniably true, and it took 2 carpenters a whole forenoon to get it open for examination. Then she was satisfied that she'd seen the orphan boy, but the wild and terrible part of the story is that he was also seen by 3 of her brother's sons, in succession, who all died young. On the occasion of each child being taken ill, he came home in a heat 12 hours before and said, "Oh, Mama, he'd been playing under the particular oak tree in a certain meadow with a strange boy, a pretty forlorn-looking boy who was very timid and made signs." From fatal experience, the parents came to know that this was an orphan boy, and the course of that child whom he chose for a little playmate was surely run. Legion is the name of the German castles where we sit up alone to wait for the spectre, where we are shown into a room and made comparatively cheerful for our reception. We glance round at the shadows thrown on the blank walls by the crackling fire. We feel very lonely when the village innkeeper and his pretty daughter have retired, after laying down a fresh store of wood upon the earth, and setting forth on the small table such supper cheer as cold roast capon, bread, grapes, and a flask of old Rhine wine, where the reverberating doors close upon the retreat, one after another, like so many peals of sullen thunder, and where about the small hours of the night we come into the knowledge of divers supernatural mysteries. Legion is the name of haunted German students, and society we draw yet near to the fire. With the schoolboy in the corner opens his eyes wide and round, and flies off the footstool he has chosen for a seat, when the door accidentally blows open. Vast is the crop of such fruit shining on a Christmas tree, and blossom, almost to the very top, ripening all down the boughs. Among the later toys and fancies hanging there, as idle often, and less pure, be the images once associated with the sweet old waits, the softened music of the night, ever unalterable, encircled by the social thoughts of the Christmas time. Still let the benignant figure of my childhood stand unchanged, and every cheerful image or suggestion that the season brings. May the bright star that rested above the poor roof be the star of all the Christian world. A moment pause, O vanishing tree, of which the lower boughs are dark to me as yet, and let me look once more. I know there are blank spaces on thy branches, where eyes that I have loved have shone and smiled, from which they have departed. But far above I see the razor of the dead girl, and the widow's son, and God is good. If age be hiding from me in the unseen portion of thy downward growth, oh, may I with a grey head turn a child's heart to that figure yet, a child's trustfulness and confidence. Now the tree is decorated with bright merriment and song and dance and cheerfulness, and they are welcome. Innocent and welcome be thy ever held. Beneath the branches of the Christmas tree, which cast no gloomy shadow, but as it sinks into the ground, I hear a whisper going through the leaves. This, in commemoration of the law and love, and kindness, mercy, and compassion. This, in remembrance of me. Okay, I have criticism. Okay, hold on. I'm putting this on the chart. There is criticism that Wolfie has. I can't see chat. Okay, there's chat. There's nothing I can do to continue to see chat. This is terrible. This is truly a travesty. Hit me with it? Alright. So... Oh, yeah, I can see chat. You might have to put up with OBS, though. Actually, has chat been showing up the whole time? Chat has... Whatever. Alright. You can't... Alright, first of all, description is great. There is possible to have too much of that, where you are so descriptive that you forget what the fuck he's talking about. Charles Dickens uses that line like the starting strip of a race. Like, he could go on for paragraphs about something, and I'm like, how is this relevant? I don't even know what you're talking about anymore. Segue. You can't call a story Christmas Ghosts by rapid firing a whole bunch of ghost stories surrounded by a description of a Christmas tree ? Citation needed. Like, it was not made clear that those stories were anyway associated with a particular time of year, or like how the fuck all these things fit into the Christmas tree. I'm sure that they're like ornaments that like represent these kind of things, I guess. Like, come on, dude. You wrote A Christmas Carol. You could do better. I don't know how I keep mispronouncing Charles Dickens. Nope. Daryl's Chickens. Do I keep... Oh my god. Do I really? I mean, yes, Daryl's Chickens is also accurate. Or as I used to call him in high school, Charlie the Dick. Because he can use 30 pages to say something I can say in 3 paragraphs. Which, like, is part of what makes his writing so enjoyable. But it's also what makes it so fucking dense. Like, he does not write such that he cares whether or not you understand it. Like, he does not. Why is the chat box... I don't know why the chat box is not working. Yep, like... And don't get me wrong, I loved A Christmas Carol. Was it really long? Yeah, but it was enjoyable. This was just like... It was okay. I feel like that's all high school reading assignments. Yeah. It really... Well, you see, I'm conflicted because they had me reading Edgar Allan Poe. Well, I guess it was more middle school, but like, I liked Poe. Like, Poe was the good shit. And, like, his descriptions have, like, a purpose. Like, you know why he's talking about what he's talking about. And I liked Dostoevsky's, too, although he could get a little bit rambly. But, like, Grapes of Wrath, that fucking... that fucking story with the rich girl who, like, fell in love with the clothes. Oh, what was her fucking... Great Gatsby, that's what it was. What other books did I absolutely hate? Couldn't stand The Scarlet Letter. I didn't like reading Lord of the Flies, but it sticks with you. Like, I remember it. Couldn't stand Life of Pi. That was the most pointless shit ever. I liked One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but that's probably because I related to it. What else couldn't I stand? A Tale of Two Cities was friggin' tedious. Great Expectations was... I'm conflicted about Great Expectations. That was also Charlie Dickens. The Shakespeare. Oh my god. The Shakespeare was just... When you stop taking it seriously, the Shakespeare can be kind of funny. Like, if you read it ironically. But, like, just slogging through it is... It can be painful depending on what you're reading. Like, Romeo and Juliet is just cringe. It's the shittiest love story of all time. Not all time, but, like, it's up there. It's not good. Like, anyone who really has read that play, Romeo and Juliet ain't anyone's role model at all. Shakespeare was bullshit, agreed. I mean, I like bits of Shakespeare. Like, Boil, Bubble, Troil. Fuck me. I liked the witches in Macbeth. Other than that, I use my knowledge of Shakespeare facetiously. Still a better love story than Twilight. Yeah. That's another one I read, and it wasn't assigned, but it was like... You're right. As terrible as it is, Romeo and Juliet still ranks above Twilight. The Canterbury Tales was just fucking dumb. What else did I read that I couldn't stand? Oh, they had us read this book. I've ranted about this on stream in the past. Oh, what was it called? Oh, it was about that dumb fuck who wanted to be like Thoreau and ran into the fucking woods in Alaska without prepping properly and fucking starved to death, and apparently that was supposed to be educational. Oh my god, what was it called? His last name was McCandless. It was the dumbest shit. Oh, and I remember, like, we were trying to have literary discussions about that thing in sophomore year of English class. And I remember this because my ass was traumatized, suicidal, and did not give a shit. But I was still in the honors class. Okay. Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But I remember, like, you know, the teacher setting up the discussion, and I, like, point blank start the discussion with, why the fuck should we care about some dumbass who read some shit, didn't prepare properly, ran off into the woods, and died like a fucking moron? I think I said it more politely than that, but, like, I made it clear that I didn't think any of this had any value whatsoever. And nothing they could, like, of course everyone was able to spin bullshit because everyone can spin bullshit for a grade, but I refused. And I had a counter argument for everything they said. I was such a shit. God, I hated every page of that book. I was like, this is such a fucking waste of time. Like, instead of this, you could have had us reading a survival manual on, like, how to survive the wilderness. How to learn how to tie knots, instead of listening to this dude's schizophrenic delusional daydreams about being like Henry David Thoreau, who went out into the woods and had pies delivered to him, so it's not like he was roughing it out there. Oh my god, I have so many rants. It's impressive how much I remember as well. I didn't realize I remember all this shit. God, I hated Grapes of Wrath. Oh, I could not stand Grapes of Wrath. Oh, what other book annoyed me? I couldn't stand that fucking garbage from Emily Dickinson, I think it was. Like the overly British shit. Pride and Prejudice was the most boring, inane garbage I'd ever read. Don't understand the point of it, don't want to. Dante's Inferno was pretty cool, though. I kind of enjoyed Dante's Inferno. At the very least, I had creative fun with it. Dante's Inferno, I remember fondly. Mostly because I used it as an instrument of punishment upon my hapless senior year English teacher. I don't know if I've told the story on stream. Sassy, have I told you about the time I punished my English teacher? It didn't work out for me well, but I did. Oh, what a stupid fucking moron he was. Not stupid, just... Not stupid. Just... self-important. We read a poem about a red wheelbarrow. You were supposed to determine what it represented. I was like, bitch. Bitch looked out the window, saw a wheelbarrow, and wrote about it. The fuck do you want from me? Yeah, no, that was my attitude too. I was very deep in the cigar is just a cigar. Who comes up with this shit? Alright, so I love this story. So we were reading Dante's Inferno in my senior year English class. And homeboy was really behind on grading. This dude turned 50 years of age and decided that he was not going to do any grading or any real significant paperwork or give us any real feedback for 3 weeks on account of it. And I found this to be an egregious dereliction of duty. And also, fuck that guy. So, it came to pass that a lot of these, this was AP English literature, whatever. Like, I don't know how I got in with this friggin' smart kids classes, but somehow I fooled everyone into thinking I was intelligent and I ended up in these friggin' classes. So... a bunch of these classes were scared that they were getting 98s instead of 99s or whatever the fuck they were worried about. And so Mr. Baldhead, I don't even remember his real name. I do remember his real name, but I'm not going to dox him. He was like, alright, pick a ring of hell. Pick 2 people that you'd put in it, explain why, and, like, describe it. And I was just like, alright. Alright. You've given me the inch, I'm going to take the entire city. So, your boy or you wolf in this case, I sat down and I rewrote Dante's Inferno. I redesigned hell entirely, built it all up from the ground up, just totally redesigned it, repopulated it with examples, fully described it. The assignment, as he posted it, was supposed to not be in excess of 3 pages. "15 pages. Single spaced." And I handed that bad bitch in. I said nothing. And I forgot about it, honestly. Didn't even remember I did it after, like, I don't know, a week and a half. It was dramatic time for the wind to cut out. So, what feels like 2 months later, I'm running a little late to class. Oh, it gets worse. I'm running a little late to class. I peek in through the window. These school doors, they have these rectangular windows, these like vertically like long windows. And I see him waving about a document of some kind, vehemently, passionately, in front of the class. I thought he was angry, so I very surreptitiously slinked into my seat, and he pounds the document onto my desk and screams, "Best thing I've ever read in my entire career." And I blink, being like, this fuck has finally lost his mind. And I look down at the document as he walks away and goes to his desk to compose himself, I guess. I look down, and it's Wolfie's Inferno. And at the top of the document, there is a red number, handwritten and circled, and it reads 125%. To which I blink again and go, You weren't supposed to like this. I didn't say this out loud, but yeah, I was kind of disappointed and annoyed. And I don't think I knew how to digest praise at all at that point. And so another few months go by. And goddamn, yeah, I was a little bit taken off too. So a few months more go by, and it's graduation time. And because of the work I was doing in the science department, I was pretty sure I was going to get a science award based on, you know, the shit that I was doing in biology. I was doing an independent research thing, blah, 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 blah. Whatever. So I get called on stage for the motherfucking English awards, and I'm thinking to myself, well, this doesn't make any sense. what the fuck am I getting an English award for? So they give me an English award. Apparently I had money with it too. And I go to my biology teacher and I go, yeah, what gives? They gave me an English award. Like, they're gonna give me the science award too, but like, what is this thing? Because you gossip, certainly you know the inside scoop, because I don't know what the fuck I've got this for. And he looks over at me with this twinkle in his eye and this shit-eating grin, and he was just like, oh, it was about your paper about hell. The entire English department and beyond has read it. And it basically became the talk of the town. And I went, oh, you gotta be kidding me. It was just a prank. Why did they give this to somebody who cared about it? It didn't belong to me. I don't know why I'm in this smart class. I seriously don't. I didn't give a fuck. Dude, I was just trying not to die. Oh, I was such a little shitler, though. Oh, I was such a little shit. Oh, I was awful. Because, like, you had all the people who actually gave a shit, or all the people who were trying to get into, like, Ivy League, you know, who knew how to walk the walk and talk the bullshit. Because I'm smart, I guess. And, like, then there was me, who, like, extremely cynical, didn't give a damn, probably going to a public school, did not care. And, oh god, it's so funny. Because I had so much vitriol sometimes toward all that academic shit. Oh my god. But I was good enough at bullshitting it. I like how your mic audio is titled Actual Microphone for Reals, Not Imposter. Yeah, you guys have seen it a bit, but yeah, there's a bit here. Microphone Among Us. Oh god. Oh yeah. That's a bit, yeah. And half the time the shit doesn't even work and it's awful. I have 2 sources, that's it. I don't know how to use sources, so I just keep adding them and shit doesn't work. Which is probably why they don't work. Oh man. But yeah, no, I don't tell these stories to be like, look how smart Wolfie was back in the day. That was my starting soon screen that I had. I have 1 source and I almost never use it. Yeah. I used to have 3, but that one ran away. Yeah, no, I don't tell these stories to like brag or anything. It was just funny and on topic. But no, I hated most of that shit they had us read. Picking the one I hated the most is difficult. I think I hated Life of Pi the most. Or at least that's the hatred that stuck with me. It's a deep cut, though. Because I hated most of that shit. I really did. And then in college, I got smart and started using Spark Notes. But yeah, that's my criticism of Charles Dickens, especially with this one, because it was so thick with BS that I couldn't tell what it was about at some points. 1984, they didn't have us read that. They did have us read Animal Farm. I didn't mind Animal Farm. Animal Farm stuck with me. It was alright. Like, it was a little annoying, but like I understood what it was about the whole time, which helped. Of Mice and Men, I hated. Of Mice and Men, it just upset me. The only thing I took from that was the poem at the beginning, which I kind of liked, which was, "The best laid plans of mice and men often go awry." But if that's not the whole poem, then I forgot most of the poem, and fuck it anyway. I had to read it senior year, and it wasn't just a couple weeks. It's like stretched out for the whole semester. Y'all had to read... They made you read that whole book for an entire semester? Christ. Like, that seems a wee bit, like, excessive. Hated reading books in school. They were either boring or a shit or fucked up. Yeah. Like, that's the thing. It's just like, if you want us to learn how to enjoy reading when we grow up, I don't know. Maybe don't have us read garbage. Or in between. Yeah. Like, I can count. I can count on one hand for high school and middle school, actually, the shit that I enjoyed reading. One was about a race pig I don't remember too much about. That might be for the better. It was shitty and I could have avoided it if I got my senior project done in just 1 week or sooner. Ah. That's rough. But yeah, like, Crime and Punishment from Dostoevsky. Really, a lot of things by Dostoevsky would have been fine. Edgar Allan Poe. I would have loved it if they covered Lovecraft. Why didn't they cover Lovecraft? That makes me angry. Wait a second. They could have... There is nothing stopping them. Oh. We could have learned about Cthulhu, chat. The second one was about a tribe of people who used to live on a dolphin-shaped island, but due to reasons I forgot, they had to leave the island only to accidentally leave one of their children behind. Oh my god. The story was then about the one child who got left behind. Good lord. I Didn't Mind to Kill a Mockingbird. It filled me with wrath that I'd never had before, but it was a good book. Yeah, so books like that are important too. Like, that's okay to keep, which is why I wouldn't necessarily scrap Of Mice and Men for that. Island of the Blue Dolphin. Wait a second, I did read that book. Oh my god, I read that book. I read that book. Oh my god, I read that book. Oh my god, I remember it. Oh my god, yes, that is the book. I don't remember anything that happens in it. I just remember she described the island a lot, and she described, like, the dolphins and shit. And, like, the birds and the weather. And she was, like, by herself. And I think, like, I don't remember how it ended. I think they came back for her. I can't remember. Hold on. This is gonna drive me insane. You're not gonna give me the Wikipedia? Yes, you are. Ha ha ha. Islands of the Blue Dolphins is a 1960s children's novel by the American writer Scott Odell, which tells the story of a 12-year-old girl named Karana who was stranded alone on the island off of the California coast. It is based on the true story of Juana Maria, Nicoleño Native American left alone for 18 years on St. Nicholas Island during the 19th century. Yes, I did read this. Fuck off. Newbery Medal, 1961. Plot summary. Main character is a Nicoleño girl named Juana Pele, whose secret name is Karana. You still have it. She has a brother named Ramo and a sister named Dulape. One day, a ship of Russian fur hunters and the Aleut people, led by Captain Orlov, arrived and pursued Nicoleños to let them hunt a sea otter in exchange for other goods. The Russian attempt to swindle the islanders by leaving without paying. When they are confronted by Karana's father, a battle breaks out. Karana's father and middle other men die in a battle. Later, the replacement chief, Kimiki, leaves the island on a canoe for new land. Eventually, he sends a giant canoe to bring his people to the mainland, even though he himself does not return. The white missionaries came to Karana village to sell the packed goods. Karana's brother Ramo to run off to retrieve the Karana urges the captain to wait for Ramo to return. The ship must leave before the storm approaches. Despite restraint, Karana jumps off the ship and swims to shore, and the ship departs without them. Waiting for return to the ship, Rama is brutally killed by a pack of feral dogs. Alone on the island, Karana takes on traditionally male tasks such as hunting, making spears, and building canoes. I did read this. Over time, she makes a life for herself. She builds a home made of whale bones. One summer, the Aleuts return, and Karana takes refuge in the cave. She observes the Aleuts closely and realizes the girl named Tutok takes care of the domestic duties. Fearful of being discovered, Karana goes out only at night. Curious girl stalks her, and the two meet. They exchange gifts. More time passes. Karana finds a young dog. Rescuers make a dress. They believe the dress of cormorant feathers is not appropriate for the mainland. She does not like the dress, but Karana realizes this is part of her new life. And a two birds in the mission. Yeah. Okay. I do remember this. It didn't make much... Like, I thought the descriptions were really pretty. Apparently, I didn't remember the plot at all. Also still have the Bic book. Best English teacher I ever had us had read to us instead of forcing us to read. She'd have us put our head down at the very end of the day and she'd read 2 to 3 chapters. Miss McKay and Mrs. McKay and Mrs. Matthews are the only reason I ever regained my love of reading. That's a good teacher. It's funny because Mr. McKay was the English teacher I tried to punish. But I'd say the best English teacher... Oh, man. The best English teacher I ever had was Mrs. Diorio. It was so fucked up I stopped reading it. They were phenomenal, yeah. So Miss Diorio, she was my 7th grade English teacher, and she realized I was bored in class. So she had me pick out a book of my own will, and I did an entire, historical project on it. I learned about the Lenni Lenape Indians that used to live in the area. Native Americans. Native Americans that used to live in the area. That was really cool. I like how she just let me do my own thing. And just basically gave me an A. Like, she didn't give a shit what I did. She was just like, yeah, you're fine. So fucked up I stopped reading it. There were a bunch of times where I think I sped read through things just to get through it, because I was just like, I hate this. So very patient with my angry ass. Yeah. The second most impressive English teacher I've ever had was Mrs. Wallace. She's now retired. Funny enough, her husband, Mr. Wallace, was also my English teacher. He was pretty good too. he would let us watch Murder, She Wrote in class. That was good. Oh, Miss Breslin was good too. Well, Miss Breslin was good because she was like grammar. She didn't have us read novels and shit and analyze it. Like, she was no nonsense. That was middle school. They're still teaching you how, like, English works at that point. So that's not surprising. I don't remember too much, but it was about some sort of social experiment and a bunch of fucked up scientists did on children when they were trapped in some sort of structure made out of platforms and stairs. I honestly don't know why they have us read this shit. One thing I specifically remember was the scientists giving out limited amount of food to see what the children did, which ended up with one of them nearly starving. Good God. I mean nothing by this question, sir. Was this an American book? I don't think the Germans would have the guts to write something like this. Especially post-World War II. Oh, you have no idea. Okay. What language did you read it in? German. Okay, then yeah, I have no idea. No, but the English teacher I'm talking about in high school, I'm going to limit it to high school because judging middle school English teachers is not fair because they don't get into the, like, well, no, they start in 8th grade. But my 8th grade English teacher was a bimbo. Although she did introduce us to Edgar Allan Poe, so she's not that bad. And it was really hard to focus in 8th grade English. Because the classroom was chaos and the teacher's breasts were like always halfway out of her shirt. She was very well endowed. And in a room full of maturing 8th graders, well, you can imagine. It was just chaos in that room. But in high school, my junior year, the English teacher would assign readings, and based on the discussion she was hoping to have that day, she would put on a song as we were walking into class that reflected, like, the theme of the day. For instance, one day I walked in and blasting out the computer stereo was Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit, because we were talking about, like, sexual repression in youth and stuff. Like, she was so awesome and so passionate and so animated. She was a little scary, but God, she was entertaining. She was great. Her husband was also kind of fun. My freshman English teacher is complicated. But she ranks pretty high up there too. She, when my grandmother died, she gave me extra SAT practice so that I would, you know, work instead of just dissociating. And I think she really tried to connect with every single one of her students in a way that, like, also connected them to the literature. She was cool. I liked her. But some of the things she had us read, and some of the things that even the cool music-based English teacher had us read, some of it, in fact, most of it, was bullshit. I was homeschooled most of high school, and our average class score was 100, so I can't really speak to the teachers. 600? The average? Oh, the average class size. Oh. I can't really speak for the teachers. I had no formal relationship with them, just did what I needed to do and hiked. Yeah, I don't blame you for that. I think in my mindset I would have preferred that. Oh god, you found it? Oh no. What sort of trauma am I digging up for poor Zerb? I gotta read the Epic of Gilgamesh as well. I don't remember a fucking thing about that book. Except that it was important. Because it was like the first piece of literature or something. I don't know. House of Stairs, novel by William Sheeter. Oh yeah, no. That's in English for sure. You poor fucks. I'm so sorry that us Americans keep reading fucked up shit they torture the poor German students with. But they could have had us reading Lovecraft, man. There was no reason they couldn't, like, assign a couple of stories from the Necronomicon. None. Zero. Oh no. I have woken Satan. Yup. That is exactly what I have done. Oh, hello, chat. Oh, hello, chat. Hello, chat. Oh my god. I would have loved to read the Yeah, same. House of Stairs. Science fiction novel, but yep, American. Sure enough. Set in dystopian America in the near future, 5 16-year-olds who are living in orphanages. No walls, no ceiling, and no floor. Nothing but endless flights of stairs leading in every direction, seemingly infinite. What the fuck? Scarcity economy as the backstories differ in parents' social economic. Themes include suspicion of authority and social breakdown, just similar to Lord of the Flies. Yep, I mentioned Lord of the Flies. You want a cookbook that's called the Necronomicon? Tenchi had that. You probably want a physical copy, because I know of a way to get a digital copy of it. I think I have a digital copy of it. If I don't, I could easily get it. Actually... hold on. Hold on. I knew I went too light on you this year. So many tabs, you're not wrong. One moment. Oh, would you look at that? It's on sale. Wow. Would you not know it? Fuck, where's your goddamn address? Oh, there it is. Well, you should be getting that book in a number of days. You'll probably get it 4 days into the new year. I would get it to you sooner, but holiday shipping and all. Happy New Year! Thank you for the peanut butter heaven cake. It made that whole week and a half worth it.
This is the least I can do. Really. I am a twerp. You can't deny that one. You'll get my ass later. I know my feelings of revenge are short-lived. You'll not let me run. I will have the similar feeling. This is an endless cycle that I'm powerless to break. But I'll win today. Don't fret your pretty little head. It was on sale. It was like 50% off on that. But yeah, they could have had us reading Lovecraft. They did us dirty in school, man. I suppose I deserve that after the Devil in Me incident. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes, you do. Absolutely. and the... Well, you said the cookies weren't bad, so I'll trust you on that. Oh my god, I can't kick this Irish accent. Holy shit, it's 11:30. It's not Friday today. It's Tuesday. Well, it's about to be Wednesday. Shite. Do I have anything tomorrow? You don't think so? I think I'm fine. Oh, alright. Y'all probably have shit. Unless it's like, you're off the holidays. Which you might be. But even then. Oh, good lord. I should send you to sleep. My lord, how long was the stream? What the fuck? This was almost 3-hour stream. I started at 9. Oh my god. Jank as it was. And then I ranted about English class for like 80 billion hours. Alright, we'll have more of this later this week. Trust me. I'm evening all week, so I'm just playing Witchwood till I get sleepy. Witchwood? What's Witchwood? Witchwood. Ooh, it's on Steam. Oh, this looks cute. Old Witch of the Woods. Oh, this looks delightful. Oh, look at all the achievements. Crafting adventures. Witch of the Woods, you explore a strange countryside, pre-sorcery enchantments. Oh. Highly recommend. It's been pretty chill so far. This is going straight. Oh, fuck. I killed the wind. Well, you can watch me favorite it on the Steam store. I don't give a fuck. Oh, that's the Witch Queen. I was just like, oh, it's right freaking there. Oh my god, there's so much shit on sale. Oh, right. Black Desert, that one game. I'm trying to scroll for it. I'm never going to find it. Witchwood. Oh, it's not that expensive. Oh, fuck. I killed the wind. It's the winter sale. What did I expect? It's true. It's 45% off. Oh, that's tempting. Nah, I'll add it to my wish list. The time will come. Oh my god, I forgot I have 79 hours on Okami. Only $10, I say. It's not $10. It's $11. It. What did you do? What? How likely am I to play this game? Pretty likely, actually. On a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being, like, definitely. I would say an 8. Like... What are you doing? Why? Reconsider. It's only $9. What are you doing? What? You're okay. There's nothing here yet. Think about this. I don't like your kitchen table. Your kitchen table needs to be healthy. Think of the table. Oh my god, my backlog. Oh, fuck. Sassy, Zerp kill stole. Accept. Thank you, Zerp. Alright, let me add to favorites. Add to chill. I have so many chill games to cycle through. Oh my god. I need to... Oh my god. I'm supposed to start Hades this week too at some point. But I'll start Witchwood tomorrow. And I'll stream it. Also, Sassy and Zerp, you wouldn't mind if I play the potion game off stream sometimes, right? Like you wouldn't feel like you were missing anything or whatever. I have no idea. There will be more opportunities there, sure will. I don't even remember getting this game. How did I get this game? What is this game? What? I have so many games. $2018. Oh my god. Not at all. I just wish I could be more help, but I'm learning as I go too. Forger is fun as hell. Alright, that's another one on the backlog. I love the shit out of the game. All right, I'll put that on the... Oh my god, there's so much shit on the backlog.
We'll figure it out. We've got plenty of time. We have plenty of time. Oh my god, this backlog is so large. I really ought to install that. I really ought to install this first, though. Yeah, cool. Also to check out One Shot and Deep Block Glass. Yeah, right. Oh god, I have both of those. Well, I have one of them. Yeah, I do. Oh god. Hades I need to do as well. It's gonna take longer. Oh wait. Oh, good lord, what am I gonna do? One step at a time. Yeah. Fall down the stairs. Yeah. Maybe. Oh lord. Alright. I'm gonna write myself. Somebody DM me or otherwise yell at me to play Witchwood tomorrow. Start Hades for Chaos on Monday, probably. And that's it. I'll figure everything else out after that point. And then on that, I will finally let your asses go to bed. I hope it did something for that excerpt. But in the meantime, do not eat or drink any questionable substances. Make smart decisions, not die. Totally did. You guys make me genuinely happy. I don't want anything to make you doubt that. I'm so glad you guys exist. Let alone decide to spend time with me, but thank you. In the meantime, though, do not eat or drink any questionable substances, unless Sassy gives it to you. Drink any questionable substances. Make smart decisions, do not die. And dying is absolutely forbidden, and I will see all of you wonderful, wonderful, wonderful crazies at a later time. Take care, guys. And a Merry Christmas. I'll probably see you tomorrow.